Welcome back, everyone. Some students in Central Texas are going back to the classroom as the pandemic continues across the Lone Star State. The average number of cases is decreasing, but here in Central Texas, the average number is actually going up to about 25% since August 2nd. Here to talk with us more about the COVID-19 and other things happening around Austin is Mayor Steve Adler. Mayor Adler, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, so the first question that we have for you this morning, sir, is last week, Governor Abbott spoke from San Antonio on the availability and prioritization of PPE for schools, but there continues to be a worry among educators and staff and even parents about sending students back to school. And of course, we have seniors, we have juniors with the upcoming school year. Do you have any advice for those people about the road ahead with the vaccine still expected by the end of the year?
Well, until the vaccine comes, we're not going to be out of the woods, and hopefully that vaccine, when it comes, will be sufficiently effective. But in the meantime, we need to follow the science and the data. I know that Dr. Escott, the health official for Central Texas, is working with the school districts, and he'll be publishing what his guidance is, what he is thinking that schools should be doing, and parents. I know that what it's going to provide is that as we push down the level of infectivity in our community, then there can be greater interaction at schools. I know that he's concerned right now that the infection rate in our city is still too high to open up schools the way that we would like to be able to open up schools. So he's proposing a kind of transition into opening with greater numbers of students over time as we drive down the infection level. I expect his guidance to be coming out here in the next day or two, but it's the kind of thing that he's been discussing with school officials for the last several weeks.
And sir, some of our hot spots, some of our most coveted areas, historic landmarks like Threadgills have shut their doors during this pandemic, unfortunately. What do you say to those businesses that continue to struggle during this time of the coronavirus and how they may have an unclear view of what their future is for their business?
I'm sure they have an unclear view as to their future. We all have that same kind of lack of clarity at this point. And there are businesses that are suffering, and the ones that are suffering most right now in our community, I think, are the ones that are in the hospitality kind of industry, the artists and the musicians that aren't playing right now. We're going to need federal assistance for that. It just goes beyond the capacity of any city to really be able to handle, which is why Congress coming through with this Clear Act 2 is incredibly important, and we're doing everything we can, and everybody listening should be telling their congressional delegation that we want them to actually come back with a support package. And that's what we need, and that's what those industries need. In the meantime, what we can be doing here is to be driving down the infection even farther than we have. We did a really good job when people were afraid and we were looking at overwhelming our intensive care units. That fear motivated us. Now we have to be motivated by the hope that we can drive it down farther so we can open and sustain our schools, open and sustain more businesses. We've plateaued here right now, and we have to push through that. We have to maintain the discipline with masking and distancing. It makes a difference.
And certainly with so many of us are trying to keep a level head in what we need not do during this coronavirus, some are believing the debate to be political as far as the coronavirus and safety measures. Do you have any words for patrons that are struggling to come to terms with the need to wear masks?
You know, wearing masks, I recognize, is not comfortable, and it can be hot, and some people don't think it looks cute. But those are all small hurdles. The benefit for the community, when you compare that with increasing our chances that our children can go to school in greater numbers and sustain that, when you compare that inconvenience with the need for more and more businesses to be able to open and sustain opening, it is a small price to pay. There is no question, really, in the science that's being produced right now as to the effectiveness of wearing masks and social distancing. The arguments on the other side are purely political, and that politics does not belong in something which is a pretty clear health imperative. Everybody needs to wear masks, they need to social distance, and we need to make peace with the fact that we're going to be doing that until there's a vaccine that's available. When our community gets together and does that, we're going to be in the best place. When you walk into a room and 90% of the people are wearing masks, you put on a mask too. You walk into a room and only half the people are, you wonder whether it's important, and that hurts us as a city.
And sir, another one of the hottest topics that we have going on here in the city of Austin and across the nation, in fact, is the police reform and proposed budget cuts. There is a thought that with the proposed cuts, such as the police academy, felons violence investigations, and the cut of new police officer positions, where would the blame or responsibility lie should crime rates increase, or if any, a higher rate?
Well, I mean, ultimately, if the council is picking a different kind of direction, then it would be the council's responsibility for the decisions that it makes. When we're talking about reimagining policing, the goal is to increase safety. We can have police officers as the way that we respond to things like mental health intervention, or we can have mental health experts that play a larger role. When we're dealing with family violence, we can either just focus on police officers that are arriving at the scene of family violence after it's occurred, or we could increase the capacity of organizations like SAFE that take people out of those homes a month or 2 or 3 before the violence occurs. But right now, if a woman calls and says, I need to get out of this place with my children, it's not safe, there's a waiting list. There's no place for that person to go right now. So all of the direction and all the goal, all the ideas that are being discussed because there's a hope they will make our city more safe.
Mayor Steve Adler, thank you so much for joining us here on KVUE News Daybreak, sir.
Thank you for the invitation.
Have a good one.